right, round of applause. It's so good. Please join me in welcoming the incredible Sterling K. Brown and our moderator, Brandy.
What's up, CultureCon?
I want you to tell us, when you first read the script, what made you say yes?
I think what drew me to it is sort of like the expansion of definition of self and how we sort of narrowly define who we are, whether it is as firstborn, like Christian, we have these definitions, and then you find yourself in a particular situation and you find that that definition of self doesn't hold anymore, and so then you have to expand. It's forced expansion.
I want to take a little break, play a little game.
We're playing a game?
So at the dinner, you're picking your last meal on earth. You get an appetizer, an entree, 2 sides and a drink, but you have to say who's making those meals.
If I just had one last thing to eat on earth, it would be my dad's French toast. Sterling Brown Jr. passed away when I was 10 years old, almost 11. And when I turned 10, he made me this platter of French toast. Now, I could take down like a loaf of bread. I like carbohydrates when I was a kid especially. So he would make like a loaf of French toast. And I was sitting there, it was my birthday, I opened up the platter, it was delicious. So get on this platter and I'm tearing it up. I'm like, thanks, Dad, this is the best gift ever. And he said, hey man, you spilled something on the bottom of your plate. I'm like, Daddy, I didn't spill nothing on the plate. I'm getting all of this in my mouth, son. Like, I'm not missing. He goes, lift up your plate. You did something. I lift up the plate. I said, there ain't nothing under the plate. He goes, look, I'm stuck on the bottom, man. Wipe that syrup off the plate. And there was $100, there was a Benjamin, like on the bottom of the plate. And I was like, Negro, are you serious? Like I got French toast and a bill?
Okay.
Come on, Jack.
In thinking about Biosphere, I feel like we don't often see black men in these types of buddy comedies, particularly as a fully developed character, which I think is such a testament to your legacy as an actor. And with Biosphere, we see that, there's conversations around masculinity, gender identity, sexual identity. How important is it for you to take advantage of those roles when you get the opportunity? And how have you been able to have a hand in expanding that representation?
I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and so the folks that I know sort of politically left-leaning but socially conservative. Trying to introduce folks to a new way of seeing people and what their definition of love is. Like, you don't have to change people in order to love them. You just have to meet them where they are. And I feel like, if I have an opportunity as cisgendered, heterosexual male to introduce people who identify with me into a new way of seeing their neighbors, who are their brothers and sisters, and just embracing them in love, then maybe it may make it easier for them to embrace their fellow human beings in love as well.
Look at your credits and the breadth of roles that you've played, and it would seem you've had your choice. Is that fair to say?
It's up through Army Wives and a little bit beyond that. You take whatever crumbs from the table of joy. Then after People vs. OJ / This Is Us, etc., the game changed a little bit for your boy, and there were options. I find myself to be incredibly privileged to have some sort of agency and not just have to take whatever comes my way, but to be like, this is a story that I understand why it's important to tell it.
I wanted to talk about that turning point because you've been out here since early 2000s. On that journey, were you hoping for the Emmys, the accolades that came later? What kept you going through those years?
I went to grad school at NYU. I did my 3 years, and I said, God, I didn't put in this time. If I can just pay the bills by doing what it is that I love, that would be success. Since I graduated in 2001, to God be the glory, I haven't had to do anything other than what I love to pay the bills.
Amen.
Right? The cherry that happened with the accolades, when the opportunity came, I felt like a boxer. I had been throwing my jab, and then that hook opened up, and I'm like, I'm about to bust this cat in the jaw. Darden came along. I was like, didn't nobody like Darden? Should I go play this dude? Then I had a chance to read his autobiography, and I saw what a precarious position this black man was in. And I think with anything, you just try to understand the character's point of view. You don't always have to like everything about them, but understand what they're trying to do. So when you see it on the page, you're like, this is good. If I can raise my game to the level of the writing that's on this page, then a possibility is open.
One of those roles, of course, Randall Pearson. Were you looking to do lighter projects like Biosphere after that?
Picking characters that are un-Randall-esque has been part of the job, to sort of try to surprise people as much as possible, because you think that Brown's gonna go this way, and you're like, oh, Brown just did something a little different on it.
I came across an old interview. I was struck by how headstrong you were as a child. How has that helped you through the industry?
I think that it has served me in that God's yes has been more important than anybody else's no. You understand what I'm saying? Like, God told me this is your path. That, like, it didn't matter if the industry was saying, oh, nice job, you know, good for you, thank you. But I knew. It's like a marathon. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And as long as that yes is clear in your head, don't matter what nobody else says.
You recently did the commencement speech at Washington University. You said impermanence is the natural state of the universe. And you said the indoctrination of home can oftentimes be at odds with the evolution of the soul.
That's a good one. That's a good bar. I like that. Listen, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. I was born in the 70s. Grew up in the 80s. It was all about Christopher Williams and Pretty Boys. A deeply entrenched level of homophobia, which I think was sort of the status quo for that time, for that place. Then I left. I went to the West Coast. Met people of Latin origin for the first time. Then you meet people with alternative lifestyles, and you recognize their humanity. You recognize their beauty. You recognize their creativity. And then you have this fundamental question with, like, why am I supposed to not like this person? Why am I supposed to shut any part of myself off to this individual? Like, they're a person who is bringing their full selves fully expressed. I think the greatest gift that you can give to another human being is to allow them to fully express themselves in your presence, and you accept them as they are. So part of my journey as an artist, in terms of trying to step into as many people's footsteps as possible, is sort of unconsciously or consciously releasing whatever judgment that I may have had with them, and sort of inhabiting their humanity with a fullness, because, like, everybody's story has import.
Yes. Excited for Biosphere, but you have another project that you're working on.
Yeah. Washington Black, based off of a novel by Essie Edeguan, 2019 New York Times bestseller, follows a young boy on a plantation in Barbados. He leaves on a flying machine. It's fictional, but it, like, takes place in the 1830s. He flies off this thing with his abolitionist slave master's brother, and they get chased to the States. And then they get chased to Nova Scotia, and then they wind up going to the Arctic. And you see, like, a little black boy in the Arctic. It's just a visual that you never get a chance to see. And it sort of connects the diaspora. And what it reminds me of, and which gives me such joy, is I think the connective tissue of the diaspora and the importance of that really sort of emphasized for me why it's more important for me to be black than African American, because we all together in this joint. I was like, I stand with anybody who stands with me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brandy.
Thank you.
Thank you, CultureCon. Appreciate y'all.